Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare PodCast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, as well as REM, Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. Learn more about our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of my book, The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 244. Born and raised in Thunder Bay, Ontario, she has grown up in the real estate industry. Since she was 15, she began working at the brokerage as administrative support and became a full-time realtor in 2009. In 2011, she obtained her broker designation and has shared in the everyday operations of RE/MAX Generations, as well as consecutively achieving top sales awards with the Thunder Bay Real Estate Board since 2009. She is recognized as being a top sales agent for her firm and has been awarded with consecutive RE/MAX awards since joining the franchise in 2017. Last year, she was one of only two realtors in her city to be recognized as a Chairman's Award winner. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is top producing realtor out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, Kelsey Belluz. Kelsey, welcome to the
Hi.
MindShare podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's I'm excited to have you here. I know you've always got some awesome stories, a ton of amazing energy.
Yeah, we can always
And
ramble on, eh?
oh my God, but you also work incredibly hard. And this is where we basically took today's show and said, how to do a shit ton of business in real estate. And I mean, look, I just read your bio. So everybody here sort of gets a sense of maybe kind of like who you are, what you do. Um, but I'm blown away by the amount of business that you do and how you manage to be a mom and keep a smile on all the time. Um, but if I came out with like the first question here and said, multiple Chairman's Club winner, what would you say has led to like so much success for you?
I'd have to say support's a big thing. I'd also have to say that acknowledging the fact that day one got me to where I am 14 years in the business. So I've been humbled and honestly so blessed that realizing now what I did my first year in the business has now brought me to where I want to be in my career. Building those relationships from day one has now gotten me to a business where 95% of my clients are repeat or referrals. And in our small city, it's pretty big honor, where reputation is everything in the city. If you have one bad person say something bad about you, it's going to spiral. So I feel very honored, to have achieved that award twice now, and to have the amazing clients and support system that I do.
Did you have anything happen when you first started the business that might have just completely like shaped the way you were going to go about things? Maybe it was maybe a bad experience with somebody, maybe something that happened at the office. Like, was there something pivotal that kind of went, hey, light bulb moment?
Yes, actually, a couple things. So, when I was registered, I was 19, the youngest realtor ever in Thunder Bay to have their license. So I found like I had to prove myself in that. Like, I stepped back and I was like, I had somebody say to me, at 19, how am I going to trust you to know what you're doing to sell my house? And I said to them, watch me. And I learned from some incredible mentors. So I'm a third generation realtor in my family. My grandfather, still at 82 years old, sells real estate, my father and my mother. So I have some incredible mentors, and trainers that help me guide me who I am today. But I did 2 years in the business. I walked into a listing appointment, and I will never, ever forget this. I knew I was competing against another realtor who had been in the business for a long time, and I was second in the door. And I went to the door, I knocked on the door, I said, hi, I'm Kelsey, it's nice to meet you. And the woman said to me, you're the one who's going to be selling my house. And I said, no, no, don't you want to hear what I'm going to say first? Like, I had this whole pitch ready. I'm like, let me do my thing. And she says, no, you know what? The other realtor who came in the door, I kicked her out of my house. And I said, why? And she goes, because all she did was badmouth you and how young and unexperienced you were and all this. And she says, I was so uncomfortable. I kicked her out of my house. And I said, oh, okay. I said, but please just let me tell you all about me and how I'm going to sell your home before you actually
She's
make a
like, stop
decision.
talking.
And so I did. I got the listing, and this woman spoke my praises. To this day, she moved out of town, but she had so many friends and family here. And to this day, she still sends me business and still tells that story. And I still tell that story because it was so eye opening just to be humble. And every time I go on a listing appointment or a buyer consult, not once do I ever bring up anything to do with those other realtors.
I think that is one of the biggest things that will bring the industry down or continue to bring it down is
Yes,
people bad mouthing each other and just putting a bad
exactly.
light on what the industry looks like. I mean, if you think about it, you sit there and you go, I'm going to talk poorly about my competitors. I'm going to talk poorly about anybody else who I guess I'm competing against, right? To try to make them look bad. At the end of the day, you look bad. The entire industry
Exactly.
looks bad. Everybody looks bad. It's not the way to go about things. So that's
Exactly.
very cool that you had that opportunity.
And I was so glad that it happened early on in my career because then it was just like, okay, that was in my mind and that was it. Like I knew how it felt to be on the receiving end of it. And yeah, I will never ever bring up another agent if I know I'm in competition or not on a listing because I just know how that seller felt when she was in that position. So I truly believe that it helped shape my career going forward because I learned that lesson so early on.
It's interesting. So, like, what if somebody was sitting there and they're like, "Hey, what do you think about that guy David?" And like, he's competing against you.
I'll be like, you know what? They're really good at what they do, but let me tell you about how good I am
There you
and
go.
what I
Okay.
can do to help get your house sold. It's really easy to kind of change, like transition that conversation into giving them a compliment, but hey, I'm here to show you what I'm going to do to set your house apart.
I like you leading with that. And then I also caught the whole thing about your grandfather being 82 still and doing this.
Yes.
Now, that begs the question, like, is there an actual opportunity to retire from real estate? Is there something there? Like, did that even shape something for you to say, "Hey, I don't want to be working till I'm 82." And I mean, anybody
Oh,
tuned
yeah.
in right now, do you want to be working till you're 82, going through and hustling and doing and everything else? And I mean, some people might say, "Yeah, I want to stay busy." That's
Yeah.
fine. But what about thinking about an exit strategy? What about thinking about the plan right now so that when it comes time to you going, I'm out of energy, I'm out of steam, I don't want to do this any longer, you
Yes.
still have a nest egg to fall back on.
So, I mean, being 82 and in it, he's at the office every single day. He's mentoring and giving our agents like a different outlook on how the business used to be, which is why I think our agents are so successful because they use modern technology and the new way of doing things, but they've also learned the old school way of doing things. And I do think that's part of why my career has been so successful is because that's what my mantra is when I do business. Like I do a lot of the old school ways of doing business with a modern spin on it. But if you ask him, this isn't a job for him. He loves every day interacting with people, helping people. And we always ask him, or everyone always asks him, when are you going to retire? And he's like, no, never. Like, I'm going to sit here until I die because I love doing what I do. And then so my father and I are like, yeah, we're not going to be those people. And so we learned earlier on that we needed an exit strategy and everything that we do from day one of our career until when we're ready to retire is going to set us up for the after life of real estate kind of thing. So that's something that I didn't do at the beginning and I have actually started to take into serious consideration in the last 3 or 4 years. I
What does
need
that look
to.
like? Like what kind of things would that look like if you said to anybody right now, thinking retirement, thinking exit strategy, even if you're not there today, but it could be a 10, 20-year plan. Like I'm going to go the distance on that to just help people understand that like it's not get to the point where you're out of steam and then decide to retire. It's
Yeah.
what can I do now to set myself up for then?
Yeah, so setting yourself up now is things like making sure your CRM is always up to date, making sure you have one. Before I met you, I didn't have one. So I was 12 years in the business without a CRM. Before I had my 6-year-old, I actually could remember everything in my head. Now, not so much, but but I still have a pretty good memory. But yeah, that's I never had anything. I had an Excel spreadsheet with a couple addresses on it, and that's who I sent calendars to. But now I've ramped that up. I try to keep track of when I last talked to people or what their interests are, things like that, because it does go a long way. Having those little genuine conversations about things that interest your clients will keep you their realtor for life. And I think that's something that's important, that especially when you do have an exit strategy and plan, whether it be 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, if you're keeping that CRM, your book of business is worth so much. And it's really easy to bring someone into that when you're nearing the end of your career, just to step right in seamlessly. I think it's important to find somebody that can step in seamlessly to that, that you know is going to give your clients the same level of service that you would. And I think that your book of clientele will appreciate you, and they will always call you. I actually have a realtor who's been retired for, I think it's like 10 years now. And she still to this day calls me with clients who call her and say, Kelsey, can you please help them? Those people are important to me. And she likes to be involved, which is kind of cool. So she's always calling me and being like, so did you show them this? Did you show them that? And, when you're in real estate, I don't think you ever truly leave the business. Even if you do, you're always involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's interesting. So if you said action step would be build up your contact list, do it now, stay
Yes.
focused on that above and beyond just building up the contact list. Now, what we also want to do is ensure that we potentially, create some relationships with some folks that may be on their way out of the business, so you can help take over what they're doing. That's going to help us do more business, but it also is going to help us continue to do a lot of business if we can find somebody that's maybe, I don't know, maybe lack of better words, a junior to us, somebody newer in the business that may want to learn from us, you know, adopt what we're doing, and then potentially take over that contact list later on down the road.
Most definitely. And the other thing too to remember is being new in the business, technology has changed so much even in the
Oh
last
yeah,
5 years. Lots of these veteran realtors are getting absolutely sick of the way technology is changing so fast, and they need help. They're afraid to ask for it. But
I
if
know.
you're there to help them as a new agent, like honestly, the possibilities are endless for you, because they're going to appreciate the help you're willing to give. And I guarantee you the success is going to spin off. If you can team up or help a veteran agent in your industry at your office, it's an incredible way to start your business off.
That's a great piece of advice. So, um, you're always and I know, and I'm sure people that know you would say the same thing, but, like, you're always so positive, easygoing, optimistic. How do
I
you
try.
maintain yeah, well, you do an amazing job at it, but how do you maintain that day in and day out? And would you say that this is one of the big character traits that you bring to the table that helps you win a lot more?
Nobody on the outside, well, people who know me, and they know when I'm faking it to make it. But for the most part, if I could be having the worst day of my life, the second you put me in front of my clients, they aren't going to know that. I've prided myself in that. It's also something that brings me joy. So helping my clients, going out on a listing appointment or just talking to them on the phone, it brings me utter joy, genuinely. So it's something that I don't really have to fake it that much when I am in front of my clients, because I have some really genuine ones right now. And I think that the second I transition my business into a lot of Instagram and showing the real me, showing my daughter, showing my crazy dog, and like that I'm perfectly imperfect. And some days, like, I could have the worst of luck, and anybody who knows me knows that I had a really bad string of luck for the last 2 years, but I just made the best of it, and I just kept my head above water. And I truly believe that if you just keep swimming, things are going to happen. So I just try to live by that every day.
Well, I know that you've shared, like, multiple stories with me where I'm sitting there, like, cringing. Like, I'm like, "Why do you sound happy?" Or, "Why do you sound like you're okay with this?" And,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is awesome. So then, I guess the next question I might have here is, what would you say to anybody who is going through a difficult situation?
Uh,
How do you deal with it? Like, when you say, like, "My clients wouldn't even know about it," because we all go through shit, right? We
yeah.
all wake up at some point in the morning and we're maybe off our game, things are not going the way we want them to go. Somebody's pissed us off and emails come through, and this is the big reason why I say don't check your social media all the time, right? Like, first thing in the morning, because 'cause it'll set you off. Don't check your
Mm-hmm.
email first thing in the morning to set you off.
Yes.
But anybody has that, those moments in life, and we're all human, we're all normal. You just get into a bad mood
Yeah.
based on God knows whatever the trigger was. But again, you just said that your clients wouldn't even realize that, and being able to really put that on and put that face on and cover it up and make sure that the people on the other end who you're actually there to help aren't aware of what's happening.
Yep.
That's a strong skill as well. That's almost an intangible right there. Like, how do you actually manage that? How do you deal with it? And how would you suggest anybody else deal with that?
Therapy.
Yeah.
That helps. Not gonna lie. That helps a lot. I mean, the other thing is realtors are weird. We're a rare breed. So I have some really great friends who are realtors. They don't even work with me. They work at different brokerages in the city, and they are great friends. I would classify them as some of my best friends, and we understand each other, and we know like how stressful this industry can be. So sometimes and vice versa with them, if we're having a really stressful day or something really crummy has happened and we just want to scream at the top of our lungs, we just call each other and we talk to each other. And by the end of it, we forget what we were even upset about because there's a solution to that problem. And then we're usually just laughing about some crazy thing our clients did and we carry on with our day. I do find that having a support system in the real estate industry helps me like you would not believe. Surrounding yourself with really good, like-minded people just help ramp up your business in a whole and keep your mental sanity a little bit better too.
Well, there's the whole thing about accountability,
Yeah.
right? Like having somebody that's there with you that is on the same playing field as you, that you can talk about almost anything with, you can vent to each other. It's almost like
Exactly.
it's almost strictly business to some degree where we're going to be each other's support system.
Yep.
And when you find somebody that could be that support system, you can just talk to. It's not necessarily a mentor, not necessarily a coach, not necessarily. It could be somebody who's like literally on the same playing field as you, and you're going through the same journey in two different sets of shoes, maybe on two different roads. But now you have that opportunity to be able to talk to each other about it and be able to work it through. That's a powerful thing
Exactly.
right there.
Yeah, and I even have some friends in the industry who call me. They're like, "Oh, I can't crack this. I've like got everything's just hitting roadblocks." And I find like I like to motivate people. So I sit there and I'll motivate them and I'll tell them like the tips of my trade, what I do successfully
Mhm.
and what I do when I'm in a rut. Like every time I'm in a huge rut, I walk into my father's office, I sit there and I say, Dad, I'm at my wits' end. Help me out. And he brings me, we all say, bring it back to basics. And we talk from just like I'm a brand new realtor again. And we bring it, strip it right down, bring it right back. And it's insane how just something as simple as that just changes your whole mindset and it kind of ramps you up. The other thing is breaks. If you don't take healthy breaks or vacations, your brain is going to be in a complete fog, and you won't get out of it until you take those real breaks.
Yeah, but what about the whole notion of like, I don't have time to take a break. I'm just too busy out there.
Yeah, that's what I did this summer, and now I'm like, I'm too tired. I need a real break. And I know you preach this to me nonstop. So I got to a point at the beginning of July, I was taking 2 weeks off and it was non-negotiable. And then all of a sudden, I had like 7 listings scheduled to come up that week. And I was like, I can't do it. I have to work. And I wasn't tired at that point. Well, fast forward to now, I probably should have taken that break, but I've done other things like little mini breaks to kind of keep me from getting into major burnout, which is helping me through the summer for sure.
What would you say when you look at, you got in a younger age, and I also got in at a much younger age. I
Yep.
mean, I've licensed 17 years now, but I grew up in a real estate office. And when I look at the differences, and we talked about the old school, we talked about the new school, and sort of it's that mix. And I really do believe there's a fine balance right there that when you
Yeah.
want to get in, when you want to have success in this business, if all you're doing is spending time, let's say online, then you're missing the opportunity where the real business gets done, which is in person.
Yes.
But if you're only doing the in person, then you're not leveraging what the power of online can do.
Exactly. Yep.
What would you say is the biggest difference for the way real estate is done today versus maybe how it was done, 15 years ago when you first walked into the brokerage or pardon me, at 15 years old when you first walked into the brokerage?
Yes. So I watched so many people come and go from our office and do different things to make themselves successful. But at the end of the day, what has never changed from day one is you still have to do that in person, regardless of how good your social media is. Don't hide behind it. Show up at your office, utilize all those agents who have different ideas and put a different spin on them and make it your own. My biggest thing is I never used to go to conferences or anything like that. And people would tell me they're incredible. It's a source of meeting people, it's a source of learning and building relationships. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm doing okay. It's fine. And then in 2019, I went to a conference in Niagara, and it changed my whole mindset. I think that might have been where I met you, actually. And it just gives you a different perspective, and you get to meet new people. And not only are you meeting them to get referrals, like that's great. If you're getting a referral from somebody you've met at a conference, hey, that's incredible and good for you. But not only are you doing that, you want to take the ideas like something like Thunder Bay, where I always say we're 2 to 3 years behind what the GTA does because we're just moving in dinosaur speed. So what I did through COVID was I actually sat on Clubhouse when it was really popular and started to get to meet some people, and they were all willing to give great ideas that made them successful, and I was able to start the conversation on what made me successful. And you just take one thing from that conversation and put your own spin on it, and it just changes. So, kind of going back to how do you put that balance on, you can never forget that real estate started hundreds of years ago and it was successful back then. So, you still need to use those old school original ways to make your business successful. Um, I kind of changed it when I started implementing my life on social media. It made me so uncomfortable, but I did realize that as I did that, it made me more relatable to people. And I had people say, Kelsey, you are a human. You don't just work. You're a mom. You have like a real life. And the amount of people who have now come to me because of following my life on Instagram, I'm not even going for an interview of who I am when I go to sell their house. There's no doubt in their mind that I'm their realtor before I even walk in the door because they already know who I am and they already know how I market my properties and how to trust me.
So we'd say some of the biggest changes would be the fact that, yes, we've got all this access to technology and the ability to share more about ourselves.
Yes.
What
You have to
hasn't
use
changed
it
at
right though.
well, okay, so hold on, and what hasn't changed at all is it's still a people business,
Very
hence why
much
the
so.
online part of it can be helpful. Tell us more than when you say you have to use it right. What do you mean by
You
that?
have to, well, you have to use it right in a sense of you have to, if you're going to display your life to the public as a
Mhm.
public person, you have to maintain your level of professionalism. It's okay to go out and party and have a few drinks and whatnot, or, go do certain things. But if you are using your social media for your business, don't be out partying at all hours of the night and things like that, because that's not going to attract people to you. That way of like, hey, I was just at a cool networking event, or I got to meet this really awesome person, or I just read this book. People like that. I mean, people like to see the real side of you too. If you're going
Mhm.
out with your friends to a new restaurant, promote that restaurant. There's little things like that. But I do find that certain things, there can be an extreme, right? If you get to divulging everything in your life on social media, you might lose followers. So I kind of watched when I started talking about my life a little bit, what people were interested in, what people engaged in, and what people like literally unfollowed me because I was too much. So I found that happy balance.
Give us some examples of that, like stuff that people would have engaged in more or follow more, and maybe stuff that you found like, "I shouldn't do that anymore."
I think lots of useless stuff like, oh, and this works for people. So if you're doing this, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But lots of people like every meal they go out and eat at, or like it's okay to post once in a while about that stuff, but you're a real estate feed. You're not a cooking channel. And
Right.
I mean, if you love that stuff, don't get me wrong, because people do enjoy that, and those are your clientele that are going to mix with you better. But something like that, I found I was kind of posting things like that, and it was almost like, this isn't really me. Like, I, Honestly, I'm lucky if I cook a meal in my kitchen twice a week because I'm never home. And so when I started showing the real me, like, hey, I eat in my car, oh, on the go, I had to get my kid McDonald's because I have 7 appointments tonight after I pick her up from school. Like, those are things where I found lots of people engaged more with me and they're like, I can relate to this. This is incredible. But yeah, I always show my little flaws once in a while. I don't like to show too much of my flaws because, it can be a lot sometimes. But once in a while, I like to show the quirky side of me, and people relate, honestly, the most to that.
But there it is. There's the reality is that people would rather see that, the realities of what's going on. Like,
Yes.
it's funny, last night, literally last night, we're sitting at the bonfire of the cottage,
Mhm.
and one of my cousins goes to take like a little, like, I don't know if I guess it was a picture of the actual fire. It's right at the lake. Beautiful. And one of my other cousins, like literally as she's taking the photo, he sticks his foot in front of her camera. And as the photo snaps, all she gets is his foot. And, he made a joke to like, there's Instagram and then there's reality. He goes, so like if you're gonna
Exactly.
post that, you got to post both. And I
Yep.
think she ended up posting like the picture of the fire and the picture of the foot and kind of going like Instagram like we're human.
Oh,
We're
exactly.
all real. We all go
Hmm.
through our flaws. We all go through our issues. We all have something that is not perfect. And if all we do all the time is show people the perfect side of God knows whatever that means, then that's all people are getting. But something doesn't jive with that. It's not
Yeah.
real. So to
Yeah.
show the quirky side, to show the issues, and tell me this, how do you show them? Like, is it literally like you're sitting at the drive-through McDonald's and all of a sudden you pull out the phone, you just take a quick photo on the
Oh,
phone,
yeah.
or do you do it direct to Instagram stories? Like, how do you pull that
Usually
off?
a story.
Okay.
It's usually a story because I'm like, if I really screw something up, it's only there for 24 hours, so
Yeah.
it's okay. I use stories a lot. My child loves to be in front of the
Oh my
camera.
gosh, she's
You'll
awesome.
see her doing peace signs, and the other day, like she just recently had to go through a procedure at Sick Kids, and she couldn't walk for 3 days. So yesterday was the first day she could walk, and she was like, Mom, I got this. I'm doing a fashion show. So when we got home after my last showing, she went and grabbed like 3 outfits out of her closet. She's like, you need to show my followers on Instagram, Mom. And so she thinks that these people who are following me are following her, which I kind of think they probably would rather see her because she's pretty funny. But yeah, so um, but back to being real, I posted reluctantly. I posted a blooper reel that my videographer made for me while I was shooting a house. So I posted the actual listing of me looking prim and proper and saying the right words when the house was for sale. When the house sold, I put up there, congratulations to my clients, your home is sold. Here's a little behind the scenes of what I actually went through to get this video to where it was. And the amount of people who messaged me, I couldn't believe it. They loved it. I felt so vulnerable,
So
but I was
cool.
like, you know what? I just got to do it. And I did it. And I'm glad I did because it started a conversation with a lot of people. And it actually got me appointments with other clients from it. So
It makes you real.
it does. Yeah.
It's
And
funny.
any of my clients know that. They know, like, when they get me, they're not getting some like robot realtor. They're getting somebody who genuinely wants to help them and be a part of their process and be their friend along the way. So,
It's funny, because in a business of real estate, the emphasis on being real
yes,
is so important.
it is very, very
At the end of the
important.
day, this is about like two people coming together that one of them says, "Yeah, I'm going to trust you to deal with the biggest asset of my entire life."
Hmm.
They've got to be able
Yep.
to see the real side of you.
Oh, yeah. And not only is it an interview for the seller or the buyer interviewing you as their agent, but you're also interviewing them because I'm a firm believer if you have one bad apple in your client sphere, you're going to drop the ball on 3 really good clients that you can have. And when I kind of shifted my focus on that, it actually helped excel my business quite a bit.
So, how do you say no?
Not very well. I try though. I try to, that's something this year that I actually did try to put a lot more in. I actually spent a lot more time this year qualifying my clients better.
Mhm.
So I used to be the days where, oh yeah, I'm not really pre-qualified. I don't know. And I mean, that's okay too. If you're running around with those people, one day they're going to amount to something for sure. But I make it a point of, okay, we're not going to go do anything until you sit with me and we get A, B, C, and D in place, because the market's competitive. And I don't want you to be disappointed when you lose consistently because we don't have these things in place. And I noticed that when I became a lot more strict with my rules with my clients, that my time became a lot more effective and my
Mhm.
clients appreciated me a lot more. And they trusted me too, which was great.
So setting some boundaries and actually being able to
Takes
say
time.
no to people shows people, "Hey, I'm busy. I take my business seriously, and if we're
But
gonna
I
work
value
together,
you.
we" Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Now, what would you say is the role of a realtor? Like, where should realtors' mindsets be day in and day out?
You're almost like a general contractor when you're building a house. If you think about it that way, the general contractor's job is to get you from that when the ground is dug to when you're ready to walk in and move in. So it's just like the same thing with us. It's a map and we have to get them from point A to point Z and everything in between. And there could be bumps along the way, but when they hire us, we're experts in this field. And we always have to remember that, whether it be a bad water test if you have a well, or you're bringing a dad to a house inspection who knows nothing about the house and says there's everything wrong with it. There's different ways that you can properly navigate and be confident without being cocky, in my opinion, because there's a different thing between being confident and humble, and having the arrogance is something you don't want to do. Um, I've always been like, okay, I understand your concerns about this. And then I kindly inform them of the correct thing. And once you follow that roadmap so many times, you know it veers off in a bunch of different directions, but you still get them to that finish line. And I think if you look at it that way, it's the map, and you have to get to the end of that destination for your clients. And when you do, they'll be so grateful. And it also goes into not just them getting the keys for that home, it goes into past that. It goes 5 years down the road, checking in, seeing how they like things, letting them know what their home is worth now that they've built equity in it over the last few years. Those things all go a long way. And those things also help build you into getting that referral network back.
Okay, so we talk about the mindset being there in terms of what you need to be thinking, how you need to be doing. What would you then say is the biggest challenge that realtor or realtors would be facing? I'd say like an individual. Let's do that. No, I'm not talking about the group of, but I'm talking the individuals. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you guys face day in and day out? And is there any specific keys to working through that?
So I think there's a lot of misconceptions what realtors actually do and how they help you, and what value they do bring. I had somebody who they called me on one of my listings and I said, "Do you have an agent?" And they're like, "No, we don't need one." And it was actually this guy brought his mom to look at this house, and he's like, "I keep losing. Like, this is ridiculous. The realtors are driving up the values, and how am I supposed to figure out a price? My mom knows prices." I said, "Oh, are you a realtor?" And she was so rude in the house. This was like this summer. So this was very fresh in my mind. And she was just like a know it all. And she's like, "We don't need a realtor." I said, "Listen, I'm not here trying to pitch you to be my client," because she was very negative. So I didn't need her to be my client because it was exhausting. But I
Mhm.
said, "You need a realtor because you're going to keep losing nonstop because you don't know what these houses are worth. They're not worth what the homes are listed at. They could be worth less, they could be worth more." And I said, "And if you see a list price and you don't know what it sells for, it's really easy to just assume that this is what it went for. But you don't actually know what we do." And so then I started running through everything. And they're like, um, "Would you be able to help us?" And I'm like, I couldn't. She was very negative. So that's back to the whole, for one bad apple, you lose three. And I said, "I can guide you to an agent in my office who may be a good fit for you." And that's what I did. And
Good for you.
they got a house a week later.
There you go.
So people just don't realize. And that's the thing where sometimes you got to go against the grind and actually educate these people who think we add no value. In Thunder Bay, we actually have this for sale by owner company who kind of has made a job in pretending he's a realtor, but he's not. And and he guides people, and they think that this is just a low budget real estate company, and it's not. And I've had people who have called me and said, listen, we thought our house was sold, but because of what this guy told us, it's not. And we thought it closed in a week. So we've had to go through hurdles like that
Wow.
and guide people and be miracle workers. Thank goodness, like, good at what I do, and I
Yeah.
have the resources to be able to help somebody get through that. But it's crazy. It can be a very overwhelming thing. And I think as realtors, sometimes we take it for granted that we're not actually educating the public on what we truly do. People just see, oh, this person posts on social media for sale, sold, they write a contract, they take some pictures, and that's it. But we do so much more. And I think we just think people know what we're doing all the time, but we need to make the public more aware that we're actually here to help them, and we're not here to just make a paycheck off of their home.
Now, suggestion to everybody on that would, be one, this is a collective through the entire industry. Try to everybody get on the same page about positivity. Everybody get on the same page about going out and educating your clients and making sure people understand what's up. Because again, and I've said this a million times, I'll say it a million more. If we allow the media to dictate the narrative, it's going to be a real tough go, especially over the next few
Exactly.
years.
Yep.
Now, where would you say most of your business comes from? Is it people you know or people you don't know?
Um, Through people that know me. So, like 90 to 95% of my business comes from people who have used me before, or people who I know um, from the past, or that I've gone to school with, or people who they know that they say, like, you've got to deal with Kelsey. Recently, I just had a client who called me to sell her house. She wasn't from Thunder Bay. She moved here for like a year, bought her house from another agent because it was referred to her from somebody out of town.
Mhm.
And she called me. She's like, I started following you on Instagram the second I moved to Thunder Bay, and I want you to sell our house because you seem cool. And so that was kind of flattering to get that. But lots of my business naturally through people that I know, or people who share my stuff and follow me. I do get a lot of leads off of Instagram, which is kind of cool. And it's all natural. Like, I don't pay to sponsor my posts or anything like that. It's just genuinely me. And then recently, from starting to go to conferences, getting involved on AREA committees
Mhm.
and REMAX committees and stuff like that, naturally now I'm starting to get my name out there as somebody they recommend in Thunder Bay as a referral base for people out of town, which that didn't happen overnight. That took almost 15 years to get my name as something like that.
So you're seeing most of the business from the people you know because it's either them directly or through them indirectly.
Yes.
Is
So
there
now
any
oh,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, so one thing I will say, when I started in the business, I didn't have that slight advantage that people had when, oh, I can buy a house, like a family member can buy a house or sell their house through me. Well, my whole
Right.
family was selling real estate, so I wasn't
Mm,
getting that. My family friends or childhood friends growing up called my parents because they've been in it a long time. They knew what they were doing. They helped them. Still to this day, some of them are getting helped by my family and not me. Um, but so I had to kind of reinvent the wheel. I had to go out and I had to hustle with people I didn't know at first. So when I say it's people I know, it's people I've gotten to know throughout
right.
the business and throughout time, and getting like some of my best friends that are clients. Like, they were my clients 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and now we've established a friendship. So I guess you could say initially they were clients that I've gotten to know on a personal note, and definitely social media helps with that because you can keep in touch a lot easier now.
Oh, for sure. Was your first deal somebody you knew or a total stranger?
Total stranger.
Cool.
I
Okay.
met them through an open house.
Got it. So would you say that they're like I was gonna say to you, like, is there a magic secret to generating more business from our most important audience, like the group of people that are now delivering all your business in terms of contact list?
Never forget where you came from. Always thank people. Always remember that they helped you grow you to where you are now, and you always have to thank them. My biggest thing, and it is probably the most genuine thing I say to my clients, is thank you very much for trusting me to be a part of this process. And I genuinely mean that when I say it, because I still get chills when I tell stories about why this person picked me. I'm like a kid in a
Mm,
candy store when I sell a house. Like, I'm genuinely happy for my clients. And I think that's something that can't be faked, that has to be organic. And I do believe that when you show that you genuinely care about your clients and about this process, it just naturally and organically shows. It's very, very hard to fake that part in the industry for sure.
And if you don't have the client list or you're just brand new in the biz, you're saying open houses are a great source of getting that first deal?
Yes. So I'm going to use one of my newer agents as an example. He
Okay.
started in COVID. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's watching yet today,
Okay.
but he'll know I'm talking about him because he's the example of what you should do. So he's been in the business for 2 years now, and he never done an open house because they weren't a thing through the pandemic.
Right.
And so he's like, well, I'm going to try an open house. I'm going to get some clients. And I'm like, they're not that easy. Like, you don't just walk in the door and get clients like on your first shot. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to try. He not only got one client, he impressed a neighbor of the house. They are now calling him to list the house and buy something in a very executive price point. And he just naturally showed who he was as a person through
Cool.
this open house. And he got like 3 clients out of an open house, which is in Thunder Bay kind of unheard of for one open house. And it actually converted. He's already sold two houses from that open house he did a month and a half ago.
So if I said to you, and that's a very cool story. And now I would say that that's a node to putting the effort, doing the
Yes.
hustle, putting yourself out there. It also means that when you're with people, you've got to make sure that you are actually personable versus,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, you could grab one of those. Yeah. Let us know
Right.
if you need anything, right? And just having your phone down and like your head down on your phone, you've actually got to be out there with people. You got to be
Yep.
making that conversation with people. So okay, just on that note then, any new agent coming into the business, what's the piece of advice for them right now?
Piece of advice is make sure when you join a brokerage, you have a support system there. That's something we pride ourselves on. We want to be able to give people as much information as possible to kind of copycat, but also make it your own. So tried and like I've tried to do a lot of different things to see what works and what doesn't.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
bring it back to our agents in our weekly meetings. Like, hey, I tried this, it worked. And it worked really well.
Yeah.
And it's up to you if you want to utilize that stuff. But if there is an agent that has been in the business and has proven success over the years that is willing to give you information and help you, I recommend listening and taking the time and going outside the box. Like, this is a sales business, but it's also a relationship business. And you've got to remember that things are always changing. And if you can take one thing from anybody that is willing to teach you, take it and put your own spin on it. Because I always say, like, I got to Kelseyfy this. I got to make it my own. And my father, he, like, being in the business, he's 33 years in the business now, and he looks at me and he just shakes his head. He's like, I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it, but he's like, it amazes me. And it amazes me every day. I feel like imposter syndrome sometimes because I do feel honored that my clients have trusted me enough to help me build this business to what it is today. And I don't think they realize how much they have helped me over the years.
That
Not
is so
only
cool.
support wise, but education. I've learned so much from people throughout the course of my career.
Would that be the same message that you give to somebody who's been in the business 5 to 10 years looking to go to their next level?
Yes.
Same thing.
Um,
Okay.
I wanted to ramp up my business. And I mean,
Mhm.
I told you, I said, I want to do better.
Yep.
I know I have the potential to do better. And sometimes stepping back and reassessing everything helps you. Like, it could just not be these major changes you have to make your business that much more successful. It could be the slightest little tweak to something you're already doing that helps amplify your career. And that's something that I did do over the last few years. And it's something that I'm proud to say has helped me a lot.
So as we talk about the social medias and the need to be in person with people and the fact that you can learn something new every single day, how to grow the business. What would you say gets like way too much hype when it comes to marketing? 'Cause as you talk about making changes, a lot of times what happens is people just make these knee-jerk reactions to go, I got to do some more marketing, or I got to go spend money somewhere else. I got to do something. I gotta,
Yep.
and usually spending money is that like that medication for them to go, well, I did something. I took the pill. But
Yeah.
look, personally, on my level, I think that's a completely wrong approach, right? Like, I think
Yes.
that you need to go through and be strategic and actually look at it and go, okay, what's the challenge? What are we facing? Why are we facing it? What do we need to do to solve it before we just go throw money at it?
Yes.
What do you
So
think gets way
I'm
too much hype, though?
so I'm in a much different market. Like we have, I think, 200 registered realtors in Thunder Bay, and maybe half of them actually actively sell. So I'm in a small market where, I mean, there's no comparison to the GTA by any means. But for those small market people, you don't necessarily have to dish out a ton of money in billboards, commercials, bus
Mm-hmm.
benches. Don't put your face everywhere. Focus on one specific thing that you know is going to work. And that's not necessarily complete marketing. Like that could be you going and spending $100 to go to a networking event. Those things are going to show people your more genuine self than you posting a smiley face on a billboard, in my opinion. I mean, granted, billboards will help. Like some people thrive off of that and it's helped their businesses excel and great for them. Me, I just use the more hands on approach because,
Mm-hmm.
as my grandpa says, belly to belly. That's the way of getting people to know who you are and trusting you to feel comfortable with you. And that's just what I have used in my whole career. And I think it's worked pretty well.
What if you're like real introverted?
Oh my gosh, I'm the most shy person you'll ever meet. Like I hide it really well. People think that like if I go to events and things like that, I'm the one hiding in the corner. Like you got to come talk to me because I'm like shaking. I have an anxiety attack before I walk in the door, and people are like, "I don't believe you." And I said, "It's completely different when I'm like real estate Kelsey, going and like listing somebody's house or certain things like that." But if you put me in a group of like a lot of unknown people and you're expecting me to like talk, yeah, it's not going to happen because I am actually a very, very shy person, believe it or not. You just gotta, you will, if you're more shy than me and not good at coming out of your shell when you have to, people will still deal with you because they don't want that, overpowering, aggressive realtor. Like, not everybody mixes with somebody who has that really, really outgoing personality and things like that. It just, everybody mixes with different people. So even if you are an introvert, you are shy, eventually you will come out of your shell. You will be forced to if you choose to be in this industry. Trust me, I was very forced to, and I have a happy balance of it, I think.
So, okay, so tell us, and you've just given us a ton of information around, you know, how to do a shit ton of business in real estate. And, I know there's a lot of people that tune in this episode going like, I'm looking for that magic pill. I'm looking for that thing that I've never heard before, and so much of what you've shared is there's so much logic to it. It's not necessarily brand new information. The best part about it is that it's real. And
Yes.
it's so much of what it actually takes. And, I know I asked this question to somebody the other day, do you believe there's something you haven't heard of yet? Do you believe there's a secret you don't know? And I loved his answer because he's like, no, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, perfect. Love it. So what are we waiting for? So I guess that, is there an X factor here when it comes to like what we do day in and day out? Or is it, versus slugging it out? Like, or have we just really gone through that, summing that up? Like, how would you sum it up to do a shit ton of real estate and business?
I kind of brought it up a little bit ago. When I'm
Okay.
struggling, you
Yep.
always bring it back to your basics and you never forget where you came
Like
from
that.
or how you learned things. Yes, there's all these new flashy things that are always going to be thrown at you. Some of them are going to work wonderfully, others are going to be a complete flop. But if it were me, if you have somebody who's willing to show you, or like somebody who has been successful and is willing to give you even one piece of information to like their magical key to success, go for it. In my opinion, I just like to keep it a 50-50 balance. Like you use your social media, but you also go back to that people business. And I think the second you use that people business, it's going to make you successful. And like I said, you throw enough shit against the wall, something's going to stick eventually. And that's one thing that I do want to remind people, that this business has shifted so much in the last even 6 months, where it's been a frustrating market. Things are changing. But remember, you throw enough shit against the wall, something will stick, and it will break that wall down that you're finding a struggle, and you will get there. You might just have to tweak something a little bit and it will go a mile. So there isn't like that actual secret to real estate to be successful in it, I would say. Just genuinely be you and be willing to learn from the people who have proven success in this industry, and you will do just fine.
Great advice. Now, a couple of years ago, you decided it was time to hire yourself a new coach.
Yeah.
Um, what what was it that you were looking for? And not to get into like specifics around like what was your struggle and why, but like what was it that you were looking for help with?
So I knew I had the core to be very successful in the industry. But I'll be honest, I was a hot mess. I was bad with my calendar was all over the place. I never forgot to show up at an appointment by any means, but like there were times where I'm sitting at my desk and like, oh my gosh, I gotta go, because I'd forget to write this in my calendar. I wouldn't have a proper CRM. I wouldn't have good follow-up techniques. And so I knew that I was successful without going the next level. But I thought, after listening to you talk at the AREA reality conference in Niagara, it gave me that level of motivation that I needed. Okay, I got to snap out of this just getting by, and I've got to start paying more attention to my clients, past and present. And I have to, if like, I don't like to do things half-assed. That's just not who I am as a
Mhm.
human. And I felt like I was getting to that point of, oh yeah, I'm just getting by. I'm doing really well, but it wasn't something I was proud of. And now, like, I met with a new agent who is going to be getting into the business soon. And I said to her, I said, this is something that it's your baby. You have to be proud of it each and every day when you walk in that office. You have to be proud. It's your own business. Even though you are working for a brokerage, it's still your own business, and you still have to be very proud of what you do. So when I was no longer proud of what I was doing, I knew I had to make a change. And when I met you on stage and when you were talking to me, it just kind of resonated with me. I had tons of coaches come up and be like, hey, can I coach you? I've
Well, that's
never
that's
used
what I
a
was gonna
coach.
ask you. Like, what did you do to even start the search? Because there's a lot of people that are gonna listen to you right now going, "Oh, interesting. Okay, find people, find somebody, have support systems. Where do I start? Google? Like, what did you
Yeah,
do? Or
I
was it the
definitely
conference,
didn't
I guess? I
Google.
don't know.
It was the conference, and I'll
Okay.
be honest, like, I had probably 6 coaches who were in the crowd coming up to me, "Hey, I'll coach you if you want." But it's like, once you have to listen to how somebody talks, and you have to be like, "You know what? The way that they talk is how I feel." And the second you find somebody like that, then jump onto that and test that out, because I'm so glad I did when I met you. Like, it's definitely helped level up my career a lot, and um, I will be forever grateful for that, because I went from make I've doubled my income in the last 3 years, which I can't even believe I did. And I worked smarter, not harder, and I definitely think that's a lot into my scheduling, and just having those little different ideas of what works elsewhere and that I can bring into my business now.
That is wicked to hear. And I know, obviously being, as connected as we are, I know, where I've seen the growth. I'm watching it happen. We're still working on things, but there's a lot of great successes happening there. And I think there's so many people that doubt, well, I don't know. And the same way you say, like, once you find somebody you can connect with, like, what would you say to somebody like the overall experience of working with us here at Mindshare?
Hmm.
For anybody that's not aware, or somebody that is looking for a coach, or somebody that's like, maybe considered working with us, what would you share to them about what the experience is like from, let's say, call to call each time we chat?
There's no sugarcoating. I will say that, which is incredible. That's what I need. Like, I'm the type of person who needs a hardcore, like, swift kick in the ass to get my butt in gear. And like, everyone says to me that once I get off of a call, they can tell I had my coaching call, because like, you can't peel me off the ceiling. Like, I want to get going. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's just, it is an investment, but I can tell you the investment is 100% worth the reward. For the first 12 years of my career, I did this on my own. I didn't, it was just me, and I didn't have an assistant. I didn't have anybody to guide me or anything like that. So I was just coasting, and I was doing well, but I wasn't doing great. And now I find that I have utilized the tools that you've provided to me and listened to the guidance you've given me. I hired an assistant who helped me with day to day now, who is actually like taken hours off of my day, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what the future holds, because I have implemented these things. But you definitely have to find somebody that gels with you,
Yeah.
because it's really easy to just get 1-800 find a coach,
Yep.
and you listen to what they say, and all of a sudden you leave confused. And that's not what you guys are about there. You're very accommodating, and you have the right tools for success, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think that there's a big fear from people to make the investment, as you say, like
Yes.
investing in yourself, right? There's a lot of fear about the unknown. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know if I'm going to get,
I
you
was
know,
scared.
yeah.
Hmm.
Like, what do you say about that? Like,
I
I
was
don't know what I'm going to
terrified.
get. And I might have said it to you, and I've said it to many people before. Like, I'm not Amazon. I'm
Yeah,
not giving you some box tomorrow once you get started with us. It's just all of a sudden going to
exactly.
say, hey, here's the thing you ordered. Like, you're not getting that. This is about
Nope, you're right.
collaboration. This is about brainstorming. This is about strategy and working through things, and then taking the steps that every call we end off with action steps, taking those
Yep.
and implementing them. But what might you say to somebody, like, how do they get over that fear? Because it's dollars.
Um,
At the end of the day, they gotta put the money out.
yes, and that's the thing. It is a financial investment. And I always say to somebody, if you aren't that little bit scared of making a change, then I'd be worried. Everything that I've done in my business, I was always terrified to do. And I lost out on a lot of opportunities because I was too scared. So when I
Right.
kind of let that guard down a little bit and got a little bit lackadaisy with certain things and take the control away, because I'm a big control freak. So I let the control go a little bit, and I can tell you my quality of life has gotten better. My income has increased. The amount of ends I've done, and the amount of people who genuinely um, trust me and like feel like I'm part of their family through this is just insane. And that just, I mean, I've always had those tools, but we kind of ramped them up and used what we needed to kind of get this thing going. And at the end of the day, being a realtor, you're your own business, and you need, like, Amazon doesn't just isn't a one man show. Remax isn't a one man show. There's
Right.
people who are good at all different things, and you need help sometimes. And I think real estate's a big business that you do need to accept the fact that if you want to be really good at it, you should probably get a little bit of help, and it will make you that much better.
Amazing words. So, with all the success that you're having, at the end of your day, as the day wraps up, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
I know it's been a successful day when I blink and I'm like, what just happened? And then I go back and look at my calendar and I'm like, wow, that was a really good day. And it doesn't necessarily mean I listed a house or I sold a house. Like, the genuine connections that I've had through that day, or even if it was me tackling my emails that I couldn't get to, or things like that. If I blink and I'm like, where did that day go? I know it was a successful day.
Love that. Okay, cool. See, again, it didn't come down to money.
No, never. I
See,
always like, and people might think I'm lying when I say this, but I truly say that I love my job. And if it ever became just about the money, I'm out. I'm going to go do something else, because your clients feel that.
yeah.
And it's never been about the money for me. I mean, the money's great, a great perk, but at the end of the day, helping those people and helping them with their big decisions, it just, yeah, it's pretty great.
Okay, so wrap us up here. Final words of wisdom that anybody here can sort of leverage to, build more mind share, to get more market share, to ultimately do a shit ton of business in real estate.
Be you. What you put out, like give out is what you're going to get back and some. Show yourself authentically and don't get lost in the new wave of social media, AI, and all that. Relationship building business, don't just do it socially, be in person, and people are genuinely going to love you and your business will be a success.
Kelsey, absolutely awesome. How quickly the conversations always fly by when the two of us are talking.
Yes.
But seriously, you're the success that you're having out there is incredible.
Well, thank
We are
you.
so super pumped for you and just continue to, watch and be there with you. And it is amazing to see. And I would suggest to anybody, if you don't know Kelsey, check her out online, watch her Instagrams, connect with her, learn from her. It's been a real pleasure. It is a real pleasure, not being, because that's like past tense, but like, being on the journey with you and just watching and like the growth and just the success that's being had. I think it is absolutely amazing. And I just congratulate you from like, the highest mountain right now.
Well,
It is
thank
super,
you.
super awesome to watch. So big congratulations. And a big thank you for joining us on the show today.
Anytime. And I also want to say that anybody out there who has watched this, if they want to reach out to me, feel free. If I can give you one little pointer, I will for sure. So don't hesitate to reach out at all.
Absolutely amazing. Kelsey, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
You're either watching us live, you're listening to this recording, you're maybe on my website, maybe you're on one of your favorite podcast platforms. Maybe again, mindshow101.com. Who knows? But while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. It is a 31-page ebook, including a 90-day social media content calendar to help you build more mind share so that you can get more market share. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, prices will be going up on September 1st. We do understand that the last few weeks here in August can be a very personal time or very busy time, personal time, family time, vacation time. So I get it. You want to spend that time doing summer stuff. All that being said, this is the right time to be prepping for your fall market right now. And so if coaching is something that you're interested in, I encourage you, set up an explore call with my team. We'll talk, we'll figure out if we're a fit for each other. We'll see if it works, and go from there. And if you want to get started with coaching, but can't do your first call till September, that's fine. I really encourage you, lock in now, because like I said, prices are going up on September 1st. So just don't wait. Let's get to this. Also, if you're planning an upcoming event, inquire today about having me as your keynote speaker. Will certainly keep everybody on the edge of their seats. And we can also explore ongoing virtual training together for your group. For all inquiries, get in touch with us. Do it today. Also, don't forget to leave a review of this podcast. You can go to www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare 101. If you're on iPhone, it'll take you directly to iTunes. If you're on Android, you can go over to Spotify. But the whole thing makes life very, very simple to be able to do that. So again, ratethispodcast.com/mindshare 101. Of course, if we haven't yet, let's connect on Facebook at mindshare 101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to take a quick moment here to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems as well as Real Estate Magazine for sponsoring the MindShare podcast. Be sure to visit my site, mindshow101.com, to learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.